from PRX.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and friends beyond the binary, and my bakers, get ready. Bakers on my, what do they say? Get ready, get set, get set. I cannot do it. As much as I try to be my, I can't do a Noel or a Sandy. Get set, no. Get set. I don't know. Get ready to go to sleep because it's, you say, what is this person talking about? And I say, yeah, not much. You know what time it is? It's time for me to, I was trying to think of a baking analogy, but that fits like, it's time for me it's time to knead your pillows. Hopefully you'll need them when you need them. Because it's time for Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. And these are the ways we're able to bring this podcast twice a week for free. All right, everybody, it's time to talk about tonight's sponsor, Quince. And this is a rare one because this is a sponsor that I wear and that I snuggle up and get cozy with. Because Quince has a little bit of everything. But one of the things they have are these linen sheets. You know, you've been hearing people talk about them. I've been seeing them come up in online discussions everywhere. You know, my daughter's got some Quince sheets. I've got some Quince sheets and bedding. And it's the kind of bedding that makes your whole bedroom feel pulled together. The kind of bedding you're proud to make your bed and have your parents come in your room and take a look at it. Quince linen bedding is everything people say it is. Light, breathable, and soft from day one. Woven from 100% European flax. It's the perfect mix of relaxed and refined, and it just gets softer with every wash. And the same goes for their ultra plush duvets, quilts, pillows, and shams too. And those feature other premium fabrics like organic cotton, breezy bamboo, and skin nourishing silk. Quince has everything you need to level up your bed. And the best part, like Quince's clothing, I mean, you got to see this new shirt I got from Quince is amazing, but their bedding is half the cost of similar brands. And that's because they partner with top artisans, and Quince cuts out the cost of middle people, passes the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. You know, my daughter's starting college out with the Quince bamboo sheets. They are so silky, buttery smooth. Right now on my bed, I've got the Quince Percol cotton sheets. And when I go out tonight, I'll be wearing one of the European flax linen shirts. So level up your bedding with Quince. You'll feel the difference right away. Go to quince.com/sleep for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/sleep. To get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/sleep. Thanks, everybody. All right, everybody, it's time to talk about tonight's sponsor, Helix Sleep, and they've got some amazing deals coming up. You're going to hear about it at the end of this ad read, so do not miss out. I want you to right now to open up your phone. Just do it with me. I'm going to go to helixsleep.com/sleep, and if I were you, I wouldn't want to, I don't know what your relationship with your bed is right now. I've had a long-term relationship with my Helix mattress. It fits my needs, how I sleep. I sleep on my side, I sleep on my stomach, but now I'm sleeping more on my back, and I'm relocating, and unfortunately, I'm not in a position where I could ship my mattress because I have to move my stuff before I move. But that's okay. It means I get a new Helix, so I'm going to take the Helix quiz right now, helixsleep.com/sleep. 30 seconds, and you can, okay, one or two sleepers. One. Okay, let me put in my email. Put in my name here, give a little bit of information. Okay, what size mattress am I considering? I got that down. All right. I don't know if are you taking this quiz with me at helixsleep.com/sleep? All right, toss. I guess I toss and turn. So I'm going to pick toss and turn. And what kind of firmness? Okay, I'm going to pick my firmness that fits my needs. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to get yours, Okay, I'm going to talk about my back there, talk about temperature. All right, I got matched with my mattress. Oh, boy, and it's a different one than I have now just because I made a couple changes to how I sleep. So I'm going to check this out and think about it for my next Helix I'm going to be sleeping in. So take that Helix quiz. It's going to be coming right to your door, but most of all, it'll be a mattress that fits you, your needs, and how you sleep. And the best news is that Helix has amazing deals for Sleep With Me listeners, but only if you use our link. So go to helixsleep.com/sleep for 27% off site-wide during their Labor Day sale. Happening now. This offer is exclusive for listeners of Sleep With Me. Make sure you enter our show name after checkout so they know we sent you. That's helixsleep.com/sleep for this exclusive Labor Day sale offer. That's 27% off site-wide. helixsleep.com/sleep. All right, but this is Scoots here, and you probably heard me. This message is going out to people that listen every night. Like, you listen 7 nights a week, 6 nights a week, 5 nights a week, 4 nights a week. You listen many, many nights a week. This is your chance to be rooted for or to root for other listeners. Like, think about that. There's other people that listen differently than you that are rooting for you right now. People you don't even know. Can you feel that? That's the first stage of this one. Can you feel those people that know you're listening every single weeknight or every single work night, or you listen to the show every single night of the week? They're so happy this podcast has changed your life, that it helps you out, and they're rooting for you. And then do you want to root for them back? Because some of them don't listen that often, right? Some of them are new listeners. Some of them are temporary listeners. Some are people that just listen when the episodes come out, so 2-3 nights a week. Do you want to root for those listeners? Do you want to root for people that listen the same way as you or differently than you or both? Do you want to send your comfort to them right now across the deep, dark night? Do you want to do both? You want to receive some of that good cheer or and send it? And if you're really listening and hearing me right now, and you do listen multiple nights a week, could you root for another multiple night listener to support the show? That they're hearing me right now, that they're listening to me right now, and that you're rooting for them. Hey, the Sleep With Me Plus was built with people that listen 4, 5, 6, 7 nights a week in mind, and that's how you keep that's how the show stays around, to keep supporting. So are you rooting for that person? Or maybe you're that person. Maybe you're hearing me. Maybe you're feeling those other listeners rooting for you. Because when you support the show, it is kind of like, it does give you, the supporter, a better experience if you listen that much. But you also support it for those 9 other people, and ensure the show will be here for them too. If you're that one person, right? 19. Whoops. It's 19 other people you help out when you support the show. Not just 19 other people, but 19 other super listeners, as well as like hundreds or thousands of new listeners and temporary listeners. So I don't know if you're the one that's rooting or you're the one we're rooting for. If you are, you could support the show at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Don't wait till tomorrow, though. Support it right now. Thanks. Oh, Mystery Bart. A lot of people help out on this show. Who are they?
Posty poster son sounds like an earphone. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes too. Carl W. the legend. Also edits episodes. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the Mystery Bart. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at jonathanmann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support dear Scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Hannah like banana. Leah does the transcripts.
Thanks, Mr. Bard. And don't forget, the most comfortable way to listen to Sleep With Me is with sleep phones. You can get sleep phones at sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep phones and use Sleep With Me for $5 off at checkout. Sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep phones. Use Sleep With Me at checkout. What do you say we get on with the show? Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble staying asleep, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake. It could be thoughts, on your mind you're thinking about from the past, the present, or the future. Despite, everything they say about brains and gray matter, I see, how do you get all those thoughts, when it comes to me, I see, how do you get all those thoughts in there? I mean, really, where are they coming from? It's do they say an artesian well? I have an artesian well of thoughts. And it's not artesian. It's spelled like you'd say, like you'd think it was a well made by an artist, but I think it's just a nice, clean spring of water. Maybe it's an artesian spring. I don't know. I'd like to experience. If 2020 could have used anything, it would be an artesian. 2021, let's have an artesian spring. I think, because you'd say, well, that sounds pretty refreshing, and maybe visually or auditorily or emotionally stimulating in some way. The artesian spring, holy moly, was it good. And I also, sorry, by the way, I forgot to tell everybody I bathed in the artesian spring. And they'd say, oh, for Scooter. And I'd say, well, here's the good news. It's only imaginary. So also, I think because it's ever flowing. Also, I bathed in it without, I didn't, I was actually I was frolicking. I guess I wasn't really bathing. I was frolicking in my suit de bertha in this artesian spring. But I was obscured by, just like in the great myths, I was obscured by, bushes and leaves and just all the splashing I was doing. And mostly I was, submerged because I actually had a nice pool. Oh, sorry, I'm in the middle of a sleep podcast. Oh, no, I'm at the beginning of one. Yeah, so thoughts like that just come up for me. I guess that's one thing that could keep you awake. It keeps me awake. I'll tell you what, if I was thinking about frolicking in a spring, I think if I was that kind of person, if I was the kind of person that didn't daydream about frolicking in springs, I wonder what my life would be like, you say. Maybe that's what my internal coach would say. We got to get out there and get in some springs. And I'd say, I'm pretty sure at this point in human history, there's ordinances against that. Unless I had access to my own private spring, which would put that on my list of things I'll never do, but I wish I would like to, is to have my own private spring. Actually, and again, that could be a title for anything. You'd say, holy cow, my own private spring. What in the name of Wim Wenders, or however you say it. Anyway, holy obscure references. Because, so whatever's keeping thoughts, feelings, it could be emotions that are coming up. If you were, not many people tune into this podcast because they're coming down from a frolic, but if you are, I'm here to bring you back in. You say, well, boy, I was just in the middle of I'm home from a frolic. And I'd say, what are you, in a Dickensian, was it a Dickensian frolic? No. Oh boy, was it kind of frolic that makes my back sweat just thinking about it, and my chest even? I don't know. Okay, maybe I should. So thoughts, feelings, physical sensations. I'm already distracted by now I'm getting caught up on the word frolic. A beautiful word. Who would think of the things? Here's the thing. My brain just told me this when I said I got to move on. My brain said, "Isn't it strange that can you think anything that rhymes with frolic that's good? And I'd say, well, I got to keep moving on with this podcast intro, but I can only think of one thing. Frolic, cowlick. I could get back to you, but you're right, though. Thanks, brain. Also, I don't think cowlick, like where my hair stands up, I don't think that directly actually rhymes with frolic. Unless you say it cowlick. I guess you do. I guess it does, depending on when I say it, it does. Okay, so feelings, physical sensations. So it could be another thing that's keeping you awake, or it could just be anything, whatever it is. I'm here to take your mind off it, believe it or not. Because if you're new, you're like, what in the double hey? Yeah, believe it or not, I'm here to take your mind off whatever's keeping you awake and while you fall asleep. And what I propose to do, other than go off topic, is create a safe place. Oh boy. I mean, you see, what if I had access to an unlimited amount of private, what did I say? My own private springs. I'd like to put you in your own private spring, Yeah, I mean, right now it's a metaphor for a safe place. And the spring, it's just like a little marshy around the spring. And then it has... say a little marshy. Yes, so make sure you wear either no shoes or rubber boots when you come to visit your own private spring. Oh, yeah. So anyway, so I'm going to try to create a safe place by sending my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use a lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents. I'm going to go off topic and I'm going to go off topic and meander and never get to the point. All to take your mind off of stuff so you can fall asleep. So there's a couple things, regular listeners, so good to see you. You are my artesian spring. Oh boy, the energy that I get from putting you to sleep and, it's like a perpetual, actually, isn't a spring perpetual? No, they have end dates. Oh boy. Wait a second. I've been selling expired personal springs. Oh, did anybody know that I was talking about water springs, not bouncy springs? Oh, those are still expired. Oh man. I just put somebody, you should have seen the look on their face when I told them about the wearing boots to their spring. And I figured it was good forever, or at least, in human terms, you say, well, the spring will stop running in, whatever, year 4,000. That wouldn't be, be nothing to worry about. But you're telling me that oh boy. Are you sure you're not just a product of my imagination, or are you an actual geologist? Oh, imaginary geologist. Okay, I guess I'll have to trust you. I got to get back to this. So, regular listeners, what up? That's what I was here to say. If you're new, here's a couple of things to know. Now, this podcast, you may already be feeling a bit different about it because it's off, believe me. I mean, you don't get to these, we're already off the beaten path. I mean, there probably are springs you say, oh boy, that's how the first paths were based on springs. I guess that is probably accurate. You say, technically, Scooter, like game trails and then human trails which you would say is a well-worn path, were, mostly near springs because of the obvious reasons. And I'd say, okay, thank you. Thank you very much. But what I was saying is this podcast is a bit different because what other podcasts, other than spring-based podcasts, which I'm sure there's a lot of, and now Muha just popped into my head. So now I'm thinking about, what is that? It was an Art Deco, Art Nouveau. Is that an Art Nouveau? Okay, so is that how you say it too? Czech painter, Czech artist. You're right. Okay, so Sorry, new listener. Usually, this podcast always devolves into this. But so if you're doubtful or skeptical, that's a perfectly normal way to be when you first get to this podcast. Because, of course, if you're like me and a lot of the regular listeners, you've been through this thousands of times, tossing, turning, and stuff. And there's some people that sell obscure ways to get to sleep, and then there's some people that sell easy answers, but it never quite works out. And I wish it always did. I mean, I'll be honest. But this podcast is around that obscure thing. You see, have you tried this podcast where this dude talks about nothing? I'm sorry, what? Oh, it's a podcast. You listen to it on your phone in a podcast app. No, what was the other? Oh, this guy just talks about nothing until you get to sleep. Talks about nothing at all. No, he'll he tries to introduce the podcast, then he gets distracted by something like frolic. Then he frolics his way into some other distraction. That's just the way a podcast starts. Oh, so that's like the first 2 or 3 minutes? No, that's like the first 20 minutes. Because it's the intro to the podcast. A lot of people fall asleep during it, but most people start to relax and forget about the day during it. So it's kind of like a long drawn out thing to ease you into bedtime. Oh, really? And he just talks about nothing. He talks about stuff, but you don't need to listen to it. That's one of the key things. It's weird. It's a podcast you listen to, but you don't pay attention to. Oh, but I love springs, and actually I love frolicking. Remember, I was in the French frolicking, the Fine French Frolickers. It was a cover band. Oh yeah, I don't remember that. No. Well, yeah. It was just me in my bedroom. Huh? What did you cover? Like songs by the Muppets? Exactly. How'd you know? It just sounds like something like Gonzo would think of. You're right. That's exactly what I was doing. So back to this sleep podcast. What's the structure of the show? Well, like I said, there's this. So it starts off with a greeting so that everybody feels welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends beyond the binary. So you know you're welcome. Then there's business because the podcast is free and, it takes a lot of work to make the podcast and distribute it and stuff. So that keeps it free. Then there's an intro that's like 20 minutes. Then here's what I just found out. See, this was going to be an episode about the Great British Bake Off. But now I think he's going to do an episode about his own private spring. Wow. So we influenced the podcast. I feel powerful. I don't know about you, but I feel like frolicking. So do I, but maybe we should finish up with my questions about this sleep podcast you're telling me about. So he doesn't talk. That sounds like it would get on my nerves. Oh, you're right, it does. Wait a second. You want me to listen to something that gets on my nerves? No, it's the strangest thing because it's so different. And this is what hundreds of thousands of people have said. That sounds like a made up number. It's not, believe it or not. He gets, that's what's so funny. So hundreds of thousands of people have said, you got to listen to it 2 or 3 tries. And the first few tries, it's not exactly appetizing, because it's so different. But then on the second or the third try, for most people that it works for, they say, oh, now I get it. It doesn't make any sense. I was trying to make sense of it, or I was waiting for him to be charming or soothing. Wait, so the sleep podcast isn't soothing? It is soothing, but he's got like creaky dulcet tones and pointless meanders, so it's not what you'd expect to be soothing. Well, that sounds strange. Oh, it's strange for sure. You really nailed it on that one. I don't know. You can't quite, it's like if you wrote I was going to say you can't quite fit it in a bottle like a message in a bottle. Well, that wouldn't be a message in a bottle then. Right. If he was doing it, it'd be a message in a jug. Probably. But then he'd say, well, I got the jug. I left it outside for 4 months and then I never wrote it. Is that your imitation of this sleep podcast person? Yeah, that's exactly what he sounds like. Oh, interesting. What else do I need to know about this show? Okay, so after the intro, so the intro is like 20 minutes. It'll throw you off naturally, but you'll get used to it, and then you'll look forward to starting it before you get into bed or once you get in bed, or 2% of people skip it. Wow. Yeah, and then there's business, because podcast advertising just works that way. Mid-roll, they call it. Mid-roll. But it's not in the middle of the show. Well, it's just a term, but that's the bread and butter of the show. Then there'll be the story, which, thanks to us tonight, will be my own private spring or something. Will it be my own private spring or something, or what? Well, you never know till he puts them out. But then we're just, this is interesting. I've never been a part of the Sleep Podcast. I've only been a listener up to this point. I think did we frolic our way inside a Scooter's mind? Oh, maybe. Do you think I'm a new listener within his imagination? Yeah, we probably better not frolic too much up here, because they say his brain is mostly goo and goop. Like, and extra words like and. Yeah, oh, yeah, there's a lot of that up here. Everything's friendly, though. Do you think it's artisanal? Do you think he's giving us the right words? I don't know. I can see the letters. It's like AETISIANL or something like that. Okay, anything else I need to know about the podcast before I'm getting tired already now thinking about it? Oh, he believes you deserve a good night's sleep, that everybody does. That's why he makes the show, because the world will be a better place if you're rested, obviously. You're right. It will be. It'll be easier. I do deserve a good night's sleep. Yeah, but it's hard, to believe that sometimes, especially when you're tossing and turning. And also, he has been there. He's tossed and turned and have trouble sleeping, so he can relate. Wow. Do you think most of his listeners have these kind of conversations within their heads like he does? I don't really know. But, yeah, that's about it. He's coming. Thanks. Thank you both so much. That was wonderful. I don't think I definitely could have done not as good a job. I could have never done that job as good as the two of you, or as well. So I really appreciate that, and also appreciate everyone coming by and checking the show out, giving me your time. I work very hard. I yearn and I strive, and I really just want to help you fall asleep. So thanks for coming by, and here's a couple of ways we're able to bring this podcast to twice a week. If Sleep With Me has changed your life for the better, think about supporting the show at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. All right, but this is Scoots. We're trying to reset and get the super listeners on this campaign for super listeners to support the show. And the thing is, it really does come down to, well, particularly if you are an all-night listener or you fall asleep fast and you're hearing me, I really do need your attention. But if you listen 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 nights a week, if you've listened for longer than a year, if you've listened longer than 3 years, if the podcast has changed your life, I do need your attention. And here's the thing. Now we got options, right? I want everybody to be a participant in this, and I'll just run through the ways you could participate. And a lot of them you could do right now from the comfort of your own bedroom or wherever you are. And even if you're a new listener or a temporary listener or a situational listener or somebody just going through a hard time right now, you could participate too. But again, if you're an all-night listener or fall asleep fast, I really want you to lean into this, which is like the first part of it is like sending or thinking about sending your comfort across the deep, dark night to another listener. And maybe it starts with a super listener who listens just like you, but knowing they're out there somewhere in the world, or maybe it's a future super listener, somebody that's new, just like you were new. Can you send them comfort across the deep, dark night? You just barely smile for them and just think, I'm glad you're here. I hope this podcast can help you. Do you want to do that, right? Do you want to participate in that? Or are you in a place right now where you need that comfort to come into you? Do you want to receive it right now? or just know that it's out there. Because I don't know if I'm in the receiving mood, right? But do you want to do that? Like, be like, man, there's other listeners. And this is true, by the way, that there's other listeners right now rooting for you. People that listen differently than the way you do, and people that are similar, whatever is keeping you awake or getting in the way of you getting the rest, or your listening style, that there's other listeners right now rooting for you. So those are two ways you could participate, or you could do both, right? You could send out some comfort and you could receive that comfort right now, or you could alternate or whatever works for you. But I'd love it, just like I talk about in the intros, for you to be a little bit more of a part of that. And again, it's passive, right? But then we're also rooting, and maybe you could root for me together, that someone, and maybe it's you, is listening and hearing me right now. And the podcast has changed your life to a degree where you're paying attention. And maybe you're an all-night listener. The show will not go on without more all-night listeners and people fall asleep fast supporting the show. And you want to be that one that's like, man, I guess I just didn't hear you all those other times, or I wasn't really listening. And that's okay, because we're rooting for that one person, 1 out of 20 super listeners. So I don't know. Are you one of the 19 people who are rooting right now, or can you feel those 19 people rooting for you? You've been thinking about supporting the show. Maybe it's for the bonus content. Maybe it's because the podcast has changed your life, or maybe you're just curious to check it out. There's 19 other super listeners rooting for you to support the show right now, to be a hero, to be a heroine, to change the future of sleep with me. And believe me, I'm rooting for you because we need your support. If you're listening to me, if you're hearing me right now, and if you're that one person, please don't wait. You could support the show. You could get access to Sleep With Me Plus, which is built with super listeners in mind. It'll change the way you listen to the show because it's built with people. It's ad-free. It's amazing because we built it with super listeners in mind. And think about those 19 people that are rooting for you. And even if it's indirect gratitude, not only has the podcast changed your life, it's changed those 19 people's lives that are also rooting for you to support the show. So you could do all that at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus, sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do, or all you could do, or you can do, or you could see if you wish to do, or if you would like, wish you might have a lull from Scoots tonight. And you can do this in any order or not in this order. Get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. And I'm going to do the rest. Or I'm going to do it so you can rest. And what I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where, I got this safe place. I'm smoothing it. I'm rubbing it down. I'm talking about the ear pads on my headphones. And maybe I'll talk about that on a tangent because listening is really important. So I could be here for you. But I'm going to try and create a safe place. But I'm going to create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts about this podcast intro, or about the past, present, or future, or just, calculations, anything coming up for you, thinking-wise, on the stinking thinking. What makes me think is when people say stinking thinking, I say, I don't know if I like that term. And they say, would you think up that answer? And I say, yeah, kind of, but, so thoughts, feelings, anything you're feeling emotionally or physically coming up for you, I'll try to take your mind off of that. So anything feelings-wise or physical sensations, it could be changes in your schedule or your routine or, whatever's keeping you awake. I'd like to take your mind off of that, seriously. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents. and go off topic, which you've already witnessed a few times, get mixed up, all to keep you company while you fall asleep. And so if you're new, if you're a regular listener, I'm so glad you're here. This is the second intro I'm recording in 2021. And I don't know when you're listening to this, but I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad I can be here for you, the new listener and the regular listeners, and the kind of listeners that are listen occasionally. That is one of my favorite things. I have so many favorite things, but it is hearing from listeners now that may have listened in high school or university or when they were in their 20s or their teens, and then they listened in their, like, I haven't been doing it. I haven't gotten to the double decade yet, but I have heard from people that go from their, education or their younger years to their first job to starting a family, or people that are in other transitions. And it's just really humbling. So thank you for sharing those with me. But for the new listener, I wanted to tell you a couple of things. A few things to note. This is a podcast you don't really listen to. You kind of barely listen to it. So just kind of pay attention loosely, which is kind of hard to do on the first time, right? You see, what do you mean barely listen? When's this podcast get started? When are you going to go to sleep? Or when am I going to go to sleep? And I say, yeah, no, those are very valid questions. I totally understand. And most people, when they get here, have those questions. The thing is, they don't really have clear answers either. It's kind of like, well, you just stop you barely pay attention to me at some point, but it doesn't happen. For some people, it happens instantaneously. They listen and they say, oh, Scoots reminds me of that person in the park that talks to birds and then talks to someone that sits next to him about how he talks to birds. And then he says, then he talks about squirrels and, tells us stories. Oh, do you know Norma the squirrel? She was eating someone left a sandwich. And I said, they left a sandwich for Norma unintentionally. And Norma, she climbed out of the tree and she took a look, and her tail, Norma has this beautiful tail, and she climbed down, and it was one of those jelly and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Why don't they call those jelly and peanut butter? That's kind of what the podcast is. I mean, let's be honest. I just launched into my own episode or a version of it. So at some point you say, if you're here's the great thing. In the park, you'd have to humor that person. You'd say, and you might be thinking, you might have a variety of different feelings, but it may be, and I'm not trying to be insensitive to the person who's representing me's feelings, but it might be a little inconvenient. You say, Scoots, I'd love to humor you here on this bench where you talk about squirrels and birds and talking to them, but I got to go. Or it just takes a lot of energy for me to humor you because I'm not really into listening to you. With Sleep With Me, there's no humoring. You don't have to humor me. You don't have to listen or pretend to listen. You could pretend to listen, but that would be more for you too. You could say, That's like one of the soothing ways people can listen. But you're not really doing it. This is literally dialing it in. You say, Scoots. Oh boy. Really? Tell me more. That's like just a little technique that I used to fall asleep to myself without the podcast, period. So I'm a podcaster you barely listen to. That throws people off. The other thing they can throw you off is show really doesn't put you to sleep. It keeps you company as you drift off. That's why the episodes are over an hour, is so you have plenty of time to fall asleep. And if you can't sleep, I'm going to be here. I'm your boar friend, your boar bae, your boar cuz, your boar sib, your boar bestie, your boar bra, your boar burr, your boar bud. So that I'm just here to barely entertain you, whether you're entertained or paying attention, awake or asleep. Because there are listeners that can't sleep, so I'm here for you if you can't sleep or if you wake up and you need some comfort in the middle of the night. That's what my job is, to provide comfort, and you don't have to, when you're listening, you don't have to, interact or anything. There's no social norms that you're supposed to meet. So those are two things for new listeners. A couple other things for new listeners that can throw people off. One is that a lot of this podcast throws new people off. Of course, you're going to be skeptical or doubtful. My voice is different. My technique or humor or whatever is an acquired taste. Not everyone acquires a taste for it. So give the show a few tries. That's what regular listeners say, and just see, okay, after the second or third try, I realized the podcast is for me or isn't for me. And if you know it's not for you, I really hope you can find something that works for you. Some people know right away, and for some reason, those people have strong feelings. I have a website, sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thanks or no thank you. Either one will get you there. And it has other sleep podcasts you could check out, because I do want you to get some sleep, whether it's this show or something else. So there's that. Not everybody likes me, but give it a few tries, or not everybody even falls asleep at first, because you say, why are you still talking? When do you get to the story? And I say, I work my way there very slowly, because I'm putting you to sleep. So that's the other thing leading into that is the structure of the show throws people off, because this show starts off, it has a different structure. It starts off with a greeting, friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So you feel welcome. You feel seen. Then there's business, like listener support, sponsors, that kind of stuff. That's how we're able to be here twice a week for you. Then there's an intro. And the intro is about, it's not about 12 minutes. It's usually like somewhere around 16 to 20 minutes or so. It goes to about 20, 22 minutes into the show. And that's where I introduce the podcast. Then after, and I'll go back, I'll talk a little bit more about the intro, but then after the intro is more sponsor stuff that's tucked in between the intro and the story. And then it'll be our episodically modular series, Journey into the Land of Tomorrow, that you can listen to in any order, because we catch you up at the beginning of the episode on everything that's ever happened. Or you could look at it like a prequel, like this is the first episode, and anything that happened before it you listen to later on. You say, oh, that's a prequel. That's a Genesis story or whatever. Then there's the thank yous at the end of the show. So that's a structured show. But the one part of the show that can throw people off is the beginning, because it doesn't begin like a normal podcast or like you would think a sleep podcast would. But to the people it works for, it kind of makes sense. So there's business and that kind of stuff, because the podcast is free. I don't want it to be a part of a company or be behind a paywall. Then there's the intro. The intro goes on and on and on, because you say, well, can't you just introduce the podcast and get to the story? And I say I could, but it wouldn't work as well. We tried that, and we've tested out a lot. I've tested out a lot of different things over the years, and what I found is that having a nice intro eases most of the listeners into bedtime. It gives you some distance, like the setting of the sun lets you set the day and leave it behind you. And then you could listen to the intro as you're getting ready for bed or doing something at bedtime, whether it's foam rolling or folding laundry or doodling or making tea cozies, whatever it is, or just looking, just lying there but not trying to sleep. You ever do that? I love that, just lying around. One of the things I don't do often enough, but so it just gives you a chance to wind down. Now, you could skip it. You could start the show at 20 or 22 minutes. About 3% of people that regularly listen to the show skip the intro. And then a few thousand people listen to like story-only episodes on Patreon. But for the majority of people, they use the intro to either fall asleep to or to kind of get ready to fall asleep. Because those of us that have trouble sleeping, we've been promised a lot of different stuff, right? And you found, that worked once or twice for me, but then after that it didn't work. Or, I have this great bedtime routine, but it doesn't always work. And one of the things is just the carryover from the day or the distant past or the future. And my job is to take your mind off of that slowly. So that's why the intro goes on and on and on. The other thing that's important for me to tell you is that you're important. Your good sleep is important, or you getting the rest you need is important, because you deserve a good night's sleep. You deserve a place you can rest. You deserve a bedtime you don't dread, because, oh boy, I've been there, dreading bedtime. and worrying about it. And if I can just like make it slightly less, you say, well, at least I got Scoots there. So someone's there to keep me company, whatever happens. That's really the pinnacle of my job. Well, Scoots will be there. Maybe I'll fall asleep fast. Maybe I won't. But I'll have my boar bud to keep me company. And the other side of that is not only do you deserve a good night's sleep, if you get the rest you need, your world and my world, our world as a community will be a better place. But it's also, I know how it feels when you're dreading bedtime, and I don't want that for anybody. So those are all the things I want you to know. And then I guess I wanted you to know about my ear cups. So I have a pair of headphones that I've used, I guess, for almost the entire history of the podcast. I think I bought them when they were on sale, maybe a few months into making the podcast or maybe a year or two in. I don't know. I've had them for a long time. And so when you record a podcast, you're listening while you're talking in the mic so that you can make sure with Sleep With Me that I've got my lulling, soothing tones going and that there's nothing that I couldn't hear with my regular ear, like a plane or a boat or a car or a leaf blower, or maybe some other noise, but it's also, it really helps me be here for you. I don't know, there's something about it like that I say, okay, now I'm in Sleep With Me mode, and it's my job. Like, it took a while. It takes a while to get used to hearing yourself while you talk. But so I've had these headphones for a long time, and they have ear pads. Oh, so when you buy headphones for a podcast, you don't have to spend a lot of money. You don't need fancy headphones, but you do want a pair of headphones that has, like, what they say is a flat response. And all that means is that it kind of sounds like the audio would sound with no effects added to it. So that way you say, oh, okay, this is when I'm listening. And I think that's probably more important when you're editing. But so I've had these headphones for a long time, and they have a flat response. And I've never switched them out. And I only use these for recording. I have another set of headphones that I use for editing. But I've heard these headphones. I don't want to say the name of it just because I don't want to fall into any, well, I don't know. Like, they're the ATH-50. So these are the ATH-50X. And the X just means that the cord that attaches them, you can replace very easily, which is nice. But I haven't had to replace that. And it's also really easy to replace the ear pads. Now, I haven't done it since I bought them. I remember I was talking to someone, Sharif, that worked at 99PI a long time ago, years ago, and he was saying, oh, yeah, I just had to replace my ear pads on those. And I think he had bought the same ones on sale because there was a sale because they had these ones that they're bright blue. And I guess no one wanted to buy them back, whatever this was, 2014. And so I don't know, like these ear pads should have gone out earlier, I guess, because let's see, I've recorded 800 episodes with these. That's like 1,600 recording sessions, plus any bonus stuff. So that's definitely 2,000 recording sessions with these headphones on. What did I say, 2,000? Probably. At least 2,000. I've worn these to record parts of episodes and stuff. But so all of a sudden, like a couple weeks ago, not even a couple of days ago, I said, wait a second, these don't feel right anymore. There's something off about them. And it was just like, not one of those things that, I mean, they lost, I wouldn't wear these out of the house. Their look is not good. They look deteriorated. But they didn't feel deteriorated because it was just like the outside material on them came off like a long time ago. But the pad part has been there the whole time. But all of a sudden, like literally within a couple of days, they just stopped. They started not feeling like, if you're aware of the headphones or the earphones, then just like if you're aware you're listening to yourself, then it becomes distracting. So I apologize for that. It's a good distraction in the case of Sleep With Me, because any distraction we can lean into, we can, soothe it down. So I'll replace those. Don't you worry. I mean, I will have a debate later about which would be more distracting now for the next like 4 or 5 days till I get them replaced. Just the ear pads. But is using a different set of headphones that might sound different and distract me. Because what if I have to change the headphone volume? That would be, or just you just going for it. Because they're not distracting right now. It's just when I first put them on. And I guess there's a life lesson there, really. I'm not kidding. Because when I first put them on, I said, oh, boy, these are bugging me. And they said, well, at least I could talk about it on the podcast, be honest with the listeners and see where that goes. I said, okay, we could do that. But then at like 5 or 6 minutes, I said, wait, these are still bugging me. Internally, I said that, not on the podcast. And I said, there's no way I'm going to get through an hour with these on. But now they don't bother me at all. I'm used to them again. Sorry about that, headphones. But I'm sure you'd love to be spruced up with new ear cups. Maybe I could bronze the ones that are in there so they don't feel bad either. Or I could put you up like on the wall to watch over us. That's definitely what I'll do. Don't worry, ear pads. I'm not going to leave you behind. You've been with me this whole journey. So I think that's it. I'm glad you're here. If you're new, obviously this is a very different podcast, but I'm really excited to try to take your mind off stuff, keep you company. I appreciate your time. I work hard, I yearn, and I strive to help you fall asleep. And here's a couple of ways I keep the show going. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, changes in time or temperature, or whatever it is. So stuff that could be on your mind that you're thinking about, like past, present, or future. It could be anything you're experiencing emotionally coming up for you or feeling physically, or it could just be some change or just some situation. Just like the Fresh Prince once said, I think this is before he was just he was just a Fresh Prince I think he was who wasn't just a Fresh Prince, of course, but wasn't he the Fresh Prince of Philly? I'm pretty sure my brother lives in Philly. And then he was on a TV show called The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I wonder, here's a question, honest question. Did Will Smith ever live in Bel-Air? I mean, he could have, for sure. Or not. I mean, you'd say, well, that's an interesting thing. Or was it a contractual requirement? Because a young Will Smith, you'd say, okay, it's part of my contract. If I'm you, the studio or the production company, yeah, it's not part of my compensation. It's part of the research budget. What if that could be something I could pitch? That would be the kind of misguided idea I'd come up with. I say, well, I'd like to live in Bel-Air for free. So, like, what if we remake, I'm thinking about writing a sleep, I mean, there's no budget for this, obviously, but one day in the future when sleep podcasts rule supreme, I'll say, yeah, well, I need a budget. Yeah, well, oh, you're interested? Okay, my latest project's called, well, first of all, you have to have a budget to get the IP for Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Then I need to do research probably for a few years. A swimming pool, this is going to be definitely with a swimming pool and water features and water slides too. So don't think you could get tricky on this, but yeah, I'm going to be in Bel-Air. Oh, Bel-Air, Wisconsin. They say, that would be the one where they'd get me. I'd say, oh, Bel-Air, Wisconsin. Well, let me check it, because I'd say, well, it's still paid for, right? And it has the pool and the water features. Well, I'll still check it out. Is that anywhere near the Dells? Because this could be a win-win situation. Oh, sorry, if you're listening to this podcast, holy mackerel, I went off went off topic right on time and early. So whatever's keeping you awake, I'm here to take your mind off of that. What I'm proposing to do is to create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake. Like I said, I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents. I'm going to go off topic and obviously, I mean, you already saw that. Give me meander, but you say, wait a second, did any of that even make any sense? Except for the part a lot of you are wondering, and some of you maybe even Googling because you're listening, like you say, well, did Will Smith ever live in Bel Air? Hopefully, no, there's no answer. And I say that because they say, well, Will Smith deserves his privacy, at least, I mean, maybe if it was like 20, you say, oh, yeah, 25 years ago, Will Smith did live in Bel Air. Or maybe he had an office there, or like one of his companies has an office there. I think I'm trying to think the last time I've driven through, I ran, I guess I didn't run near Bel Air. Maybe I did. No, I guess I just drove through it. Maybe I didn't though. Anyway. So whatever okay. So if you're new, holy moly, you're already in for a treat. You're already in the treat part of the show. But if you're new, I just want to acknowledge a couple of things. This podcast is very different, and it can elicit strong feelings or just feelings in general. And that's natural when you first start listening to the show. And it is kind of a thing you kind of breathe into and you say, okay, you might be feeling along the line of spectrums of, well, what is this? When does the story start? When is this guy going to get to the point? Where's the British Bake Off? I'd say great question because I don't think it's in Bel Air, but I haven't Googled that yet. I wonder about that house. And there was a steeple I saw in this episode. And I would love to go and check out the stream and the creeks and the wildlife. And I'd like to frolic there. But yeah, so you could be having feelings of that. You say, what is this voice? Creepy dulcet tones? No, it's creaky dulcet tones like a door. But yeah, and you say, what are you mumbling? You're stumbling over your words. They say, yes, I am. You're right about that as well. And this is very different. And most regular listeners say, yeah, give it 2 or 3 tries. It takes 2 or 3 tries to realize a couple things around the podcast. One, you only kind of listen to it, or you barely listen to it, or it's kind of like background noise, like that you're kind of aware of. It's a great podcast in the sense you don't need to listen to it, but you could listen to it. And it's that ability to could listen that gives you that's what takes 2 or 3 tries to say, oh, I could listen to this. I could actually pay attention, but I don't need to. And even when I pay attention, it kind of goes around in circles a little bit. And so it's a little bit hard to follow. So you don't need to listen to it. Also, strangely enough, this podcast doesn't really put you to sleep. I'm here to keep you company. I'm here to be your boar friend, your boar bae, your boar bud, your boar bestie, your boar sib, your boar cuz, your boar bruh. If you're in the, in a surfing based area, SBC, surfing based community. Or you're in that movie about, whatever it was called. I think there's 2 versions of it too. Breaks off the point or whatever. I break off. I can't get to the point. Point Break. They could be the Scooter story. He can't make a point. He breaks away from the point breakaway would be my version. Wonder if we could get Will Smith for that. Probably not. Maybe in the background. You say, no, that's Will Smith there looking out at me talking to what was the movie? Well, the first 40 minutes he was just talking to the waves, I think. That was the part Will Smith's shoulder was in. So if you're new, so those are 2 things. You don't really need to listen. And so I'm more here to keep you company and take your mind off of stuff as you fall asleep, to be your companion. That's why the episodes are an hour. You could fall asleep whenever you want. You have plenty of time. And just like I said, you could listen. If you can't sleep, I'm going to be here till the very end to keep you company. So whether you're awake or asleep, I'm here to tell you a story or talk about the Great British Bake Off later. So those are a couple things to know. Other things to know if you're new, if you're a regular listener. Hey, what's up? How about that? Do you think let me know about this Will Smith and Bel Air thing? And because I'm sure someone's wondered that before. I can't be the first person. And if Will Smith, he was just the French. I mean, what if, is there a French prince? I mean, I think there are. Is there anyone that calls himself the French Prince of Bel Air, Wisconsin? Is there Bel Air, Wisconsin? Of all the states, Bel Air, Wisconsin sounds pretty good. Bel Air, Nebraska, pretty good, but there's a little bit, it's not quite as, doesn't have the same ring. Bel Air, Montana. It must be the number of syllables and the syllable sounds. So those two, Bel Air, Colorado. Okay, so it's not just syllables, because Bel Air, Colorado sounds good too. Bel Air, Florida. I don't know. That sounds like it could exist, but I say, well, I don't know. Bel Air, Arizona. That's a little bit too hard because of the double air. Bel Air, Nevada. It's not like I don't know. Bel Air, Nevada, Bel Air, California. That one sounds made up to me. Bel Air, Oregon, Bel Air, Washington. I think Colorado. I can't actually, Bel Air, Michigan. I can't name every state. Bel Air, New York, Ohio. I can't do every state, but seems like Wisconsin, Montana, Bel Air, Montana. I'd say Wisconsin and Colorado for now. Okay, where was that? Sorry, right? That was for regular. I think that was, but so if you're new, a couple other things you're going to wonder about or feel strongly about. And again, I'm saying yes to your strong feelings. And hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people have been in that same spot. And some of them, probably 50 to 70% said, oh yeah, this just isn't for me. And they moved on, but maybe they gave it 2 or 3 tries too. But then half of that, whatever, said, oh, wow, okay, this really works for me. So that's why I say give it 2 or 3 tries. The other things that are different is the structure of the show, which you've probably already noticed because you're so astute, is very, very different. The show starts off with a greeting, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends beyond the binary, and in this case, star bakers. Because I want you to feel like a star baker, of course, but also just so you know you're welcome. Then there's business. Like we bring this podcast out twice a week. It gets downloaded a ton of times. So that's what's able to keep it free and not as part of a service. Then there's the intro. The intro really throws people off because some people think it's just business, but it's really the business of me getting you ready for bedtime and getting you some distance between the day and stuff like that. So it's really just, I don't know, every listener listens to the intro a little bit differently. So some people, 2% of people skip ahead. That's like statistics. Statistically, I'm able to see that started around 22 minutes. And then the rest of the listeners would just let me know. Some people start listening before they get in bed. Some are in bed. Some are falling asleep. Some are getting ready for bed. Some are doing a nice wind down routine or nice wind down hobby. Something relaxing and chill. So you'll kind of slowly discover how you want to use the podcast. But at first you say, what is this? You're just going on and wondering about Will Smith and then talking about something else. And I say, yeah, it's strange, man. I hear you. That's that. If there was ever a quote about the podcast I could attribute to someone named Will Smith, that would probably, yeah, man, that's one strange podcast. Oh, yeah. I mean, that doesn't sound like the famous Will Smith because I don't think I could do a Will Smith imitation. Here's the situation. I can't do a Will Smith imitation. I could just do a cheap rhyme based on it. But Oh, so yeah, if you're new, you're saying, when are you going to get to the point? Okay, yeah, no, I realize that. But this is kind of part of the podcast. It's part of the wind down to give you some space. So that's the purpose of the intro, is that it's familiar. For regular listeners, it's familiar, but it's different every time. And for new listeners, it's just like I kind of display my incompetence in some sense, in a positive way, where you say, oh, wait a second, okay, I don't need to listen to this person. But he is mildly okay. He's mildly not bad. And I'd say, you got it now. Then after the intro is business. That's just how podcasting structure works. And that business is just important to regular listeners who rely on the podcast, because that's how we keep it free. And then we'll talk about the Great British Baking Show or the Great British Bake Off, wherever you are watching it. And we'll cover that. Then there'll be some thank yous. So that's the structure of the show. I think those are the rules around the show. I mean, not really rules, but ways you could use it. What else do you need to know? I mean, I guess the only other things you really need to know are, why I make the show. One, I make the show because you deserve a good night's sleep. I'm actually wagging my finger in a positive way, because you do. You deserve a place where you could get some rest. I really want you to, even if you can't believe it right now, or you say, oh, that's trite, man. You'd say, there goes the imaginary Will Smith again that talks like that in my mind. I say, well, you might not believe it, but I believe you deserve a good night's sleep. And I think that you getting a good night's sleep and on a regular basis, or, occasional basis, however it works out, no pressure to get a good night's sleep. But that means you could live your life, you're a little bit in a better place. And your life will be fuller and the world will be fuller. It's one of those strange microscopic world improvements in the world. If this podcast can help you. Now, it doesn't work for everybody. Like I said, the other reason I make this show, and this is coming at you straight out of my life, is because I know how it feels. Last night, I had trouble on all those things, trouble getting to sleep. I followed my wind down routine. I don't think I had any caffeine after 12, and I was reading I read a couple different books, and I was reading my fiction and enjoying it, and I felt like I was getting more and more tired. Then I just couldn't get to sleep. Then when I finally did get to sleep, I had some, whatever you call it, pseudo insomnia or whatever, where it just wasn't having restful sleep. And then I woke up about 4:40, which is kind of the worst time to wake up, because it was a little bit earlier. Yeah, I might have had, and I said, but I've been doing the show long enough. I said, just stay calm. This is not great. Just stay calm. You know how it is. Your listeners are out there. You're not alone, because there's probably other people tossing and turning. And this is something I learned from making the show. And it doesn't always work for me even, but my mind wants to run with stuff. And I took a few minutes to say, okay, let's just see if we can get comfortable. No, I don't know what it is, temperature, whatever. And part of me said, I'm up. What? And I said, okay, well, let's read. Let's read for a little while and see how that goes. And let's just stay calm. Even if we can't get back to sleep, that wouldn't be great for our day. But let's just stay calm and see how that goes. Or be nice to ourselves, even though this isn't great. Maybe I don't know. And eventually I was able to get some more sleep. And so that was good. And, but I know how it feels. That's my main thing, is I've been there, and I know all those places you can go at that time, or the other times when you can't get to sleep, how frustrating that can be, or lonely, or when you're just not at first I kept just waking back up, and I said, what do you say? And then I had I said, oh man, so you deserve a good night's sleep. I've been there. So if I can help at all, I'd be honored. Now, like I said, it doesn't work for everybody, but please give it a few tries just for you. It really doesn't benefit me unless the podcast, helps you. So me encouraging you to give it a few tries, is just because so many people have said that. And I mean, a lot of people, even there's a subset of people that say, give it a few tries, and you might be in this place. You're Maybe you already stopped listening, like where you had a really strong reaction. You loathed the podcast or whatever. It's okay. Everybody has their own taste. And then you're like, I'm never listening to that again. I can't believe my aunt recommended that. And then 1 or 2 years later, you might find your way back to the show. That happens a lot. And then people say, oh, well, now I have fresh ears, or I'm in a different place. Wow, I really like this podcast. Now, that's not everybody's trail. But I just want to give you the range of possibilities with also it being okay not to like the show. Now, you don't like it. What's not always okay is when you have strong feelings, that's okay. But, like there is a website, sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you, for you to check out other podcasts and stuff. You don't necessarily, like it's not, like I guess I'm saying, hey, this is just a thing. It's not about you or me. It's just a thing. Either it works or it doesn't. So having strong feelings about it's okay. Just remember, you want to be empowered when you take your next steps. When you say, "Well, I just won't listen to that podcast anymore. I'll check out Miette or Sleepy or Get Sleepy or Sleep Whispers or Katie's Women's Meditation Network or Shell's Meditation Podcast." So whatever it is, like, I guess my main thing is give it a few tries and I hope I can help because it'd be my honor because what I already said. I really appreciate you coming by and checking this show out. I appreciate you giving me your time and I really hope I can help you fall asleep. And here's a couple of ways I'm able to bring you this show twice a week. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake. So whether it's thoughts you're thinking about, things on your mind, feelings related to those thoughts or emotions, or just, the ones that are there, or you just know, at bedtime, I say, "Whoa, I didn't notice you," for a pretty good reason, because I'm trying to go to sleep. And, Shamebot, what are you, Shamebot 10,000? Okay, well, so feelings that could bring up, feelings, physical sensations, time, temperature, changes in routine, daylight if you're working the second or third shift. I don't know what they call the shift, that morning news cruise. I mean, I always I don't know if I've heard from him. I think I've heard from some morning news crews, but, because that's a tough schedule, you got to get, but I don't know, that's not the second or the third shift, I don't believe. Maybe it is. Let's see. Typically, you got 9 to 5, then 5 plus 8, 5 plus 5 is 10, 6, 5 to 1. And again, I know I'm wrong. I'm just saying in my mind. And then I guess 1 to 9. None of those are the morning news crew because they think they usually go on the air around 5, right? And they probably got to get there at 4, maybe. And in the Bay Area, then, well, I guess the commute is not so bad at 3:30 or 4 in the morning. Oh, but whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's your schedule, that's what I was saying, or anything else. Whatever it is, I'm here to take your mind off of it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to try to establish a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, oh, wait, I said that part, repetition. But I am going to try to create a safe place with my voice, creaky dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents. You've witnessed all of those already, going off topic. So if you're new, a couple things to get, because I already went off topic earlier. Let me get to you, new listeners. Oh, boy. Am I glad you're here, and I hope I can help. Now, one thing you should know, a couple things, I guess. One, if you're skeptical or doubtful, that's how everybody, 99.9% of the people who come to the podcast. Because, of course, you probably heard a lot of different things about helping you sleep. You've probably tried some stuff, and you really want something to work. So So that's a natural reaction. Also, you might be like, what are you up to? When is this show going to get started? So I'm going to try to answer those questions. But I want to acknowledge that, of course, you may be deptical or scoutful, which are accidental words. Skeptical, doubtful. What did I say? Skeptical, deptical, or scoutful? You'd say... I don't know. Scoutful sounds like it could be. I could go on a lot of tangents about that. Deptical. I think that's probably like what I would call a garbage can in space. You see, put it in the deptical. What is it? What's the difference between? Well, it's a receptacle in space. It depths whatever you put in there. What does that mean? I don't know. Like ionizes it or something. I don't know. I just put it in there. I didn't design it. I just bought it at the space version of this, one of those stores. Were you going to say a space version of Sharper Image, and then you didn't say Sharper Image? Yeah, it did, because I think that has a different. Like it used to be a cut. I think it's just an airplane store now. Okay, you better get on topic quick. You're right. I don't want to incur the... Like, it used to be once upon a time before the internet, people bought stuff out of glossy catalogs. And the Sharper Image had glossy catalogs. I think in the 90s, probably, maybe even the 80s, that kind of portrayed a life of luxury that you would have. You say, well, what kind of image do you project? A Sharper Image. Holy cow. Clean lines. Like an aesthetic. Oh, I thought you were talking. Oh, you're right. I got to get back to the new listeners. I was talking about depticals and scoutfuls. So if you're skeptical or doubtful, you have a good reason, right? I can't even put my word. I put the words together. I'm assembling the words as I'm speaking them. And just kind of say, oh, whoops, that was supposed to go with the other word. But seriously, if you are, one, I'm just here to help. But this podcast does not work for everybody. So see how it goes. I don't make a promise, that it works for everybody. I only hope it works for you. But I can tell you that almost every person that's listened to the show, it took 2 or 3 tries for them to be like, before they made a decision on it. And for most of the people I hear from that are regular listeners, they said, oh, yeah, after the 3rd try, I realized I didn't have to figure this out or, like, wonder where you were going. Kind of like when I go see a movie sometimes, and it's a big movie, and I have big expectations for it. I have to usually watch it twice. Because the first time I'm saying, where's this going, right? So that's natural with this podcast, too. But this one's going nowhere, so I'll just tell you that. But sometimes it takes a few tries anyway. It's slowly going. We're going somewhere, but it's not just about the journey. But so if you're new, those are a couple of things. A couple other things different about the show. One, structurally, the show's different. And you're already into the structure, but it starts off with business and a high energy, sleepy supporter zone. That's how we keep the podcast free and coming out twice a week. Then there's an intro. So the business can throw people off. Then the intro can throw people off. Sometimes I get emails about the intro, like the intro is also a commercial or something, but it's more. I guess it is a commercial for my inability to get to the point and to go off topic, but more a demonstration of that. So the intros of the show are around 12 to 20 minutes long, which you say, wait a second. So 25% of the podcast is you introducing the podcast. You're exactly right. Sometimes 33%. And why is it? Well, a couple of reasons. One, I want to give you a chance to wind down and get to sleep. I mean, just from my perspective. So one, you could just listen to the stories, just start the podcast at 20 minutes or be a patron and to listen to the story only versions we put out there. But in my opinion, if I was consuming the podcast, and this is a lot of listeners agree, if you started with like, hey, welcome to Sleep With Me, let's get that story going in a minute, and, welcome. If it was 2 or 3 minutes and then I went to the story, part of my brain would be like, oh boy, I got to get going. I got to get to sleep now. The story started. So the intro is, it gives new listeners an idea what to expect. It also gives regular listeners a chance to get ready for bed. I guess it's the majority use case. You start playing it as you're getting ready for bed, and then you get in bed like halfway through the intro. This is imaginary though, and then you listen to the rest of the intro as you're getting comfortable and winding down. And then the story starts when you're snuggled in, and then maybe you have a sleep timer. Some people listen all night. You could kind of see what works best for you. And you might say, Scoots, I start listening to the intro once I'm in bed. Or I listen to the whole intro as I'm brushing my teeth, petting those pets. Don't forget to give your pets an extra pet tonight. Because Sleep With Me, always sponsored by Petting Pets. Am I right? You know, they recently started putting out this. I feel like a stand-up comedian changing the subject like this. Well, they recently started putting out podcasts for pets to listen to. And I said, hello, the most popular, you should have called me because I don't want to pat myself on the back, but what podcast one reminds their owners to pet their pets 3 times tonight. But our podcast is pretty popular because a lot of pets listen with their companions, and they jump in bed or they get in their bed. But also in places where pets are, when they're not at home, a lot of people play the podcast in those places that work there. I get videos and stuff, and that's really heartwarming to me. But it was, so that, I don't know where that was a tangent. So the intro, I go off topic, but it's to give you time to wind down. And the thing is, there's no pressure to listen to this podcast, and there's no pressure to fall asleep. The combination of the intro and the fact that after this, it'll be a random episode. I don't even know what I'm going to be talking about right this second. But I know I'll be here for at least an hour, and I know the episode will be fully complete. So it's not like halfway through the thing I start talking. I mean, I talk nonsense from the beginning to the end. I don't check out. I'm here to the end because, one, I think that's what really helps. I don't know why, but knowing that you're listening to a complete story that you don't have to listen to, for some people, that puts people at ease, but also knowing, hey, if you can't fall asleep, I'm going to be here with a relatively inane but somewhat decent story. And then for all my people that don't sleep, there's people that listen that just can't sleep, and I'm here for them too. I've heard from them over the past 7 years of making this show, and I'm here for you if you're just up at night, and I'm here to keep you company, too. So there'll be a story. That'll be about 45 minutes. Then there's some thank yous at the end of the show. And there's also business between the intro and the story. So that's the structure of the show. I'm trying to think of what else you need to know. So that's the structure of the show. You don't need to listen, no pressure to fall asleep. I make the show because I believe you truly do deserve a good night's sleep. I've been there, tossing and turning. I've been there tossing and turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep. Thoughts, got those, holy cow, especially at bedtime. Feelings, have those. Those come up. Physical sensations, yep, I've had different, Well, I've experienced a lot. I haven't experienced everything, but I'll tell you what, I know how it feels there. When you really want to be asleep, you're really tired. And, I'm here to keep you company through that, to take your mind off of it. Even though I'm reminding you now, I get it. It's a little bit of a paradox, but it's true, right? It SUCKS's, and that's why I make the show. As I said, not only do I believe you deserve a good night's sleep, I do believe the world will be a much better place if you're rested in it. I know your world will be. And then everything, branching out from your world, and even if it's just a tiny bit better, that's better. Am I right? So that's why I make the show. I'm here to keep you company. So if you're Deptical or Scoutful, I mean, what would Scoutful be? I mean, one, I can see the jokes. You'd say, I'm trying to think of how I put the jokes in a sleep podcast. So, like it'd say, okay, so let's use a very removed one. So you know that Zeus, right, is Kronos. Here's my history. I'm not sure if this is Greek or Roman. Or maybe maybe it was one of the Titans. Let's just say it was Kronos, was like this god way back before Zeus, so far back. And I think Kronos said to all the Titans, maybe, or Zeus and Zeus's family, siblings, hey, why don't you get in my belly here? And it'll be a good place for everybody. Also, then I won't have to worry about the whole thing with you, usurping my rule. Now, what they didn't tell you is that this all happened. Zeus was in the scouts. You'd say, what do you call What do you call Kronos after Zeus's scout meeting when Kronos, it did Kronos's thing? If you're like a scholar, I apologize though, but you say scoutful. Kronos was scoutful. There's a joke. There's a punchline without a joke. You're on a regular basis. I try to give those out. Yeah, but you also say, well, I'm not sure about that. So I'm scoutful. I don't know. I like the idea. I think of like a character's named Scout. Well, I'm not so sure. I'm not sold on that character named Scout. I'm Scoutful. Or I know there's vehicles named Scout. You say, well, maybe you should say that. Like I don't know, do they sell any vehicles named Scout anymore? I mean, I'm sure people name their vehicles Scouts. But you'd say, well, here's the thing. I'm not even kidding as I'm talking about this. I'm Scoutful about the word Scout because they say, well, I don't know about that word really. So let's move on to Deptical, which again would be, I think, I'm trying to think of other words. It gets to like, what's the place you throw out your hair gel, like Deptical. That's what I call my hair gel garbage can. I think I checked because maybe like 200 episodes ago I started talking about Dep, which was a maker of neon hair gels. Which had its high points in the 90s, I think. Even though it wasn't neon when it hit your head, it was just neon in the bottle. And any kids listening, again, I'm not joking, don't follow my lead. I've already done this stuff. It is a bad idea. But those neon colors of hair gel, they don't correspond to anything with your taste buds. So no need to check that. Plus, it wouldn't be good for you. So I'm not kidding. Not that I did it, but I emailed the companies and I said, hey, I have a question about the lime Dep. And they said, the neon, the funkifusion. And I say, what is it? What do you use for your lime flavoring? Dear consumer, don't consume our hair gel is for external use only. And then I emailed back, did you say it's really called Funkifusion? And they said, thanks for your interest in the Funkifusion Fun Club. And I got a coupon. And then I did that for the other ones. I said, could you tell me more? I'm confused by because there's probably a yellow. Then there's probably a pink. Maybe a blue. I said, is that a razzmatazz or a blueberry? And they said, I don't know what they would call it. I mean, it would have like ice fusion. I don't know what they would call it, but blue hair gel. Because sometimes you get mixed up with Gatorade flavors. Also, they're probably owned by the same company. I don't know whether to laugh or... See, actually, we make that the same place. That could be a podcast. That would just be like a segment in a podcast, a bigger story in a podcast. A character that worked at... They say, yeah, I worked at the Gatorade Dep plant. And maybe someone that was really interested would say, wait a second, I'm sorry, what? Well, yeah, I worked at the plant at the plant I worked at, we made Gatorade and Dep hair gel. Fictional versions, I'm just, of course. And they said, really? Was that two different? Oh, no, same place. No, I mean, it was separated. I mean, somewhat. Same basic, they're made of the same, they probably are made of the same basic things. Anyway, I don't know how I got here. Oh, my Deptical. That's where I throw out all my hair gel. In space, that's where I throw out my funkifusion. See, like, it never made my hair funkifusion. Not that was really a name of a hair gel. That was a temporary Gatorade flavor, probably positive. Like, it would be like melon. What would you do? What would you put in a sport drink that was labeled? Funkifusion, you definitely want it to have a pop in color. Funkifusion, I don't know. I think you'd want it to have like a 3-layered flavor so that there's some sort of melon, like a surprise melony flavor at the end, like a hit up front. So I don't know. I guess I don't work. I just work in imaginary flavor labs and not real ones. So anyway, I'm glad you're here. I guess you got a full dose of the podcast here of what to expect. I really appreciate you checking the podcast out. Like I said, give it a few tries because it doesn't work for everybody. If you feel like it definitely doesn't work for you, you could send your emails to the one of those corporate offices I mentioned, or check out sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. And I don't know, I think that's it. I'm glad you're here. I really work hard. I hope and I strive, and I really want to help you fall asleep. So thanks again. And here's a couple of ways we're able to keep this podcast free for everybody. All right, everybody, Scoots here. This is your Tuck You In message, mostly for super listeners, though any listener that's listening right now, you could partake in this by, like, if you're a temporary listener, you're a new listener, you only listen from time to time. Remember that what I talk about in the intro, other listeners are rooting for your good night's sleep so you can receive that energy and comfort across the deep, dark night that other listeners are sending you. And you could send it out right now, right? You could send out your comfort or rooting for other people, even if they can't sleep, even if they're awake right now, that they have some comfort and relief, some companionship or some distraction in the deep, dark night. So you can receive or send any listener. You could do that. Now, with super listeners, would love it if you're, particularly if you're listening right now and you happen to be listening and hearing me and you fall asleep fast, or you're an all-night listener, you're the two key demographics that literally the future of Sleep With Me will depend on if any of you end up hearing me and listening to me more than are currently doing so, or if I just slowly get through to more people that fall asleep fast, people that listen all night long, and then any other super listeners, people that have been listening over 3 years, people that have been listening over a year, people that have been listening over 5 years, people that listen 4, 5, 6, 7 nights a week. You're the listeners I kind of need. Well, the reality is, like, if you're listening to me right now and hearing me, whether it's in this Tuck You In message or before the podcast starts or in the mid-roll of the podcast, the reality is you're like, and I think a lot of people dismiss this, but the stats back it up. Really, you're the one person listening and hearing me right now. And that's why I'm trying this new approach, because we still have to get through to people whose lives are made better by the podcast, that we need your support on Sleep With Me Plus. But it starts before that, right? And while I have to keep asking for support and keep pointing out how important it is if you value the podcast to support it back, and that Sleep With Me Plus was built with super listeners in mind, no ads, different versions of the show designed for people that fall asleep fast, people that listen all night long, people that have very specific favorites and like to build playlists of their favorites, people with particular tastes about the podcast of certain episodes, but not other styles of episodes, people that are super fans of the podcast, super listeners, people, and I don't know, or if you're hearing me and listening to me right now, are you a super listener? If not, just root for other listeners or be rooted for, or if you're curious, check out a trial of Sleep With Me Plus. But any super listener, there's four stages, I guess. Let me look at my notes here. Well, the whole thing I've been doing in the intros over the past few months and in the last minisode is that we're here rooting for other listeners, right? Or being rooted for in the deep, dark night. Because that's what the show's about, is like gentle caring, gentle relief at a distance, sending comfort across the deep, dark night to people that are out there, people just like you, or people a lot different than you, but that we all share something, right? And now is where I'm trying to deepen that conscious connection and choice in a multitude of ways. So each time you listen to the show now, you get this chance to participate in a passive way and think about who else is listening right now. Like, are you, because there's a strong possibility when I get to these messages that you might be the only one listening and paying attention right now, but maybe there are a couple other people listening and paying attention right now. And do they listen the same style as you? Are they struggling with sleep in the same way you struggle with, or is it different? And can you root for them? Maybe they're an all-night listener, or maybe they fall asleep fast, or maybe they're an occasional listener just going through a tough time. And you can decide, do you want to root for them? Do you want to send them comfort right now across the deep, dark night? And can you sense that they're out there rooting for you to fall asleep, or to have some relief, or to have a distraction and a friend in the deep, dark night? That they're bore friends with you, right? That not just me as the person that narrates this podcast, but that there's someone else out there hoping that your life is more manageable tomorrow, and ideally that you could be out there flourishing on a regular basis. And if you're a super listener, right, particularly, again, if you're an all-night listener, you listen multiple times a week, or you fall asleep fast, or you've been listening for years, maybe you're the one all of us are quietly rooting for to support the show, because we do need to reach that goal of 1,500 super listeners supporting the show back. And that's out of a large number of super listeners. But the thing is, most super listeners are like, no, so it's someone else will do it. Or I'll do it later. Well, right now, you could do it, right? You could root for another person. You could be rooted for. You could do both of those things. Or you could support the show, or you could root for someone else to support the show. Who is it out there that you're rooting for? Like, who is going to be that hero or heroine? And maybe they're hearing, maybe you're the one, you're hearing all the other listeners starting to root for you. Are you out there? Are you going to support the show? Maybe you support it because you want ad-free episodes. You're supporting it for yourself, and it helps other people. Or maybe you're supporting it because you listen all night long and it's just more convenient to support the show and listen all night long. Maybe you're going to support it because you want it to be there for you in 6 months or 12 months or 3 months from now. Maybe you're going to support it because you know the podcast makes your life better. And you hear me and you know I'm serious. You say, hey, we can't do this without especially all-night listeners and people that fall asleep fast, but all super listeners, a percentage of them supporting the show back. That's how we pay the bills. That's how we're able to be here. But maybe it's not you, but can you root for that person? But maybe it is. Can you feel all those listeners rooting for one another and then rooting for that one person out of 20, right? That's who we need, of super listeners. So are you those 19 people getting rooted for and rooting for? That's pretty cool. It's cool enough. Or are you the person we're all rooting for to support the show? If you're hearing me and listening for me right now and you can hear that, it's like yeah. Rooting for you to support the show. Don't wait, right? That's the biggest thing I've been learning from this campaign, from the people that do end up supporting the show. They're like, yeah, I was tuning you out, or I was kind of passing on the message saying, I'll do it later. Somebody else would do it. I want to do it, but I don't know. How many of those listeners are rooting for you right now to overcome those small obstacles and support the show right now at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. I know I'm rooting for you, but I'm rooting for every listener. That's why I'm here. That's why the show isn't behind a paywall. That's why I work so hard, and that's why I'm willing to put myself out here and kind of be, have other listeners have strong feelings about me asking directly, because you're important. And that's why I show up day after day, night after night. I love making the show because I love participating in this thing where I know what it feels like for me in the deep, dark night. You know what it feels like for you in the deep, dark night. And you know there's other people out there that share this with us. And in the end, that's really what it's about. So I don't know if you could feel that. And I don't know if you could send it or receive it. And sometimes you might need to receive that energy. Sometimes you might want to send it. But a lot of times it's just nice knowing it's there, at least for me, knowing that you're out there and the other listeners are out there too. So thank you so much for listening to the show. And if you decide the podcast has changed your life for the better and you want to make sure it's like you want to be that person we're all rooting for, you could support the show right now at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. And then set up the bonus content tomorrow when you're more awake. Thanks.